LowDown Nation. We are, it's really just unbelievable to me, but we are at episode 20. Um, I got started doing this back in late January. It was an idea that I'd had for a little while, and I finally decided to act on it, and ended up my very first episode strictly on Instagram with Sean Kowalski, the bass player for Echo Stone. And over time, I've expanded to using the Restream platform, so I'm able to be live on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all at the same time. I've learned a lot of lessons using Restream. It hasn't always gone the best, but here we are at episode 20, and I'm feeling very grateful tonight. And with me tonight, I've got Mr. Chris. I'm going to try to pronounce the last name. Is it Kassien?
It's Kassien, but that's
Kassien.
how
Okay.
that's how everyone says it originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Kassien.
Yeah.
And he is the bass player for Kansas City's own Scarlet View. And he was actually on with us a week ago when we did the New Music Spotlight show. We had him and the singer Bryce on, and we were spotlighting their new song, "The Chase." Um, but anyway, we'll go ahead and get to the topics at hand, Chris. We'll start with the first and most obvious question. How long have you been playing bass, sir?
I've been playing probably about 6 or 7 years or so. Originally started playing drums for a long time, and then I kind of, I wanted to play a stringed instrument, and I didn't necessarily gravitate towards guitar. And I'm like, the next stringed instrument closest to drums is bass, kind of bridges the two. So
Absolutely.
I took lessons a little bit when I was a teenager, kind of fell off from it, and then I went to college at the Academy of Contemporary Music in Oklahoma City for drum performance. And there are a few bands that didn't have a bassist. And I was like, I had a little experience, and I'm like, well, I'll hop on then. And so since then, it really, I stuck with it. And so it's been really fun. So yeah, about 6, 7 years.
Very cool. Very cool. Besides bass and drums, do you play any other instruments?
No, not really. I can play power chords on guitar and like some
Mhm.
like single note riffs, but other than that, no, it's mainly just bass and drums.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, as far as your bass playing goes, are you pretty much a fingerstyle player, or do you use a pick, or is it situational?
It's it is situational, definitely for Scarlet View. I play with a pick.
Hmm.
I being a drummer originally, I'm so used to like tapping my fingers. So I started out playing bass finger style just because it felt natural to like use my fingers, but it didn't really give me the tone I wanted for Scarlet View because we're like a rock band. We have some heavy parts here and there,
Right.
and so I definitely learned how to use a pick for this band because it really solidified the tone for it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. It's funny. I'm a converted guitarist. I've been playing bass for about 4 years now, and I'm still struggling with fingerstyle. I'm so used to having a pick in my hand that it just feels unnatural to play a stringed instrument without a pick. So
Yeah, and I was the complete opposite. Like it took me a while to get used to playing with a pick, but now it's yeah, it's all good.
gotcha. So tell me, Chris, about your current gear and setup. You know, what do you play? What do you play through? Do you use any effects or pedal boards? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I kind of, let's see if I can have the camera be right. But I have my favorite bass in the world. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh yeah,
It's a Legator Helio 300, and it is the best bass I've ever had in my life. I played, handfuls of basses. I've had like Epiphone, LTD. I've had Fender, but this Legator is like the bread and butter. It's a multi-scale with two humbuckers, and it fits so much better with this style of music.
nice, nice.
And then let's see, for my pedal board, I don't know if you can see with the front camera,
Yeah.
but I go into a Shure wireless guitar system.
Hmm.
So I can like move around, not be tied down to a cable. And then it goes into a noise suppressor, just kind of help getting that unwanted noise because we have some syncopated stuff and it's nice to have it cut out when it needs to. Then that
Right,
goes into a compressor just to like clean up different, what the compressor does, just kind of
right.
clean it up a bit. And then my favorite pedal I've ever owned in my life is the Dark Glass B7K Ultra. And that is the main thing that helps with my tone. It's a distortion, and there's different knobs for EQ and different hertz, and it is literally what makes my tone. And it is the best thing I've ever spent money on.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, do you have any personal preference between 4 and 5 string basses? Uh, just out of curiosity.
I Not necessarily a preference. I guess yes, in a way. I like five string. Just I grew up playing four string, and it was comfortable, but I love the bass, like the low notes. And it's nice having that, like with the five string, it's nice having that extra string just in case you want to go like super low, lower than the E string. And it gives it that extra rumble, and it's just a little something extra in case I want to switch something up.
Right, right. Yeah, I've got a Dean 4 string and an Ibanez 5 string, and I love my Ibanez. I've mentioned before, I just love the way Ibanez guitars play. And the thing I like about a 5 string is you can play also in the lower tunings without necessarily having to retune. So
Exactly. I was like, I tune this bass once and then I am good to go.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. So musicians have a tendency to collect gear. Do you have anything unusual or unique in your gear collection that you'd like to talk about?
Uh, not I kind of sometimes I like buying stuff and then trading it or selling it.
Right.
I've kept like I had this bass a while ago and then I sold it and then I just recently bought it back because I love it. But I think the most unusual thing per se is my dad gave me, or yeah, 6 string Epiphone Les Paul that I love using for writing and recording, like on free time, just like recording demos and stuff. And that's my favorite guitar I've ever used.
Oh, that's cool. That is very cool. So Chris, what are some of your personal musical influences?
I think I'm I listen to a lot of heavy music, like hardcore, like Knocked Loose and Slaughter to Prevail are like some of my favorite bands. But it kind of depends on drums and bass. With bass, I love more melodic stuff, like what got me into bass is more Green Day, like Mike Dirnt and Rush,
Hmm.
Geddy Lee. You know,
Yeah.
I saw them front row one show, and it was like I was like right in front of Geddy Lee the whole time, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. But drums is definitely more metal stuff.
Hmm.
But bass is definitely more melodic and like punk.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Rush, years ago, I had an opportunity to go see Rush, and something came up, and I wasn't able to do it. And then the next thing you know, Neil Peart ends up with his diagnosis, and it's over. And I'm sad to say I never had the chance to see them live in person, but you know.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also a big fan of Dream Theater,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. Their
and
bassist is
oh,
incredible.
absolutely, and the fact that all of those guys are classically trained, and I mean,
Hmm.
they just do otherworldly things, and
Yeah.
I'm excited by the development that Mike Portnoy is back with the band now.
Oh, I was so fortunate to see him play with Avenged Sevenfold.
Really,
Uh, yeah, because he recorded the drums for Nightmare.
right,
Unfortunately, obviously the riff,
right.
and he did that first tour, and I was so lucky to see him play with them in Wichita, and it was so good. Like he is one of the best drummers I've ever seen live.
Oh yeah, and I'm definitely excited because he wrote a lot of the lyrics for the early Dream Theater stuff. So I'm interested to see what they're going to cook up with him back in the fold. So
Yeah. I was
yeah,
like, what their previous drummer, what Mike Mangini
Mike
or
Mangini, yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah,
like, he is amazing, but
yeah.
also Mike Portnoy just adds a little something something to it.
Absolutely. I feel a little bad for Mangini because he kind of got the shaft in the
Yeah.
process of things, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
It's the name of the game sometimes.
yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
So, what was the very first concert you attended as a fan?
The very first one was Metallica. I
Nice.
saw them at the Sprint Center, which is now the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. And I like one of the I learned how to read drums because my parents bought me drum tablature books of Master for Puppets and Justice for All, and I was such a big fan. And I remember I was cleaning out my room earlier, and I found the ticket, and it was October 25th, 2008. That was my very
Wow.
first show, and they were playing in the round, so like they were in the middle of the arena, and it was crazy. It was. I so remember that show and like the first note and just all like the energy and everything. It was the best show in the world.
Oh yeah, my that was the Death Magnetic tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That was one of
Yeah.
my favorite albums in the world. I can
Yeah,
yeah.
my wife and I actually went to see them on that tour here in Atlanta, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great show. It really was.
No, they have their show on lock. They know what they're doing. It's a
Oh,
fun
for
time.
sure. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So, in the course of your musical career so far, Chris, have you had the opportunity to meet any of your musical heroes?
Actually, yeah. So a few years ago, Scarlet View was on the show No Cover. It was like a it's on YouTube. It's kind of a musical showcase type show. But
Hmm.
the judges were Lizzie Hale of Hailstorm,
Wow.
Alice Cooper. Um, I don't know. I can't remember his name. The singer of Bush, and
Is that Gavin Rossdale?
yes, and Tosin Abasi of Animals as Leaders, and it was like a judge thing, kind of like American Idol, that we played a show, and you can find it on YouTube. We're the very first episode, and we played at the Troubadour. It was an amazing experience, but it was crazy having like a bunch of cameras, and it was just the four of them, and then Kellen Quinn of Sleeping with Sirens was the host, and it
Oh,
was
that's
just all
cool.
the people I've grown up listening to and I've seen live, just playing with them, just playing in front of them, all on like one stage, and it was absolutely incredible. It was one of the highlights of my life.
That is really, really a cool story. Before we proceed on, I'm going to take a look over at the Instagram tab and just see if anybody's saying anything over there.
Awesome.
We've got quite a few people in the live right now. Let's see.
Sweet.
Um, Nobody's actually saying anything at the moment, but we've got like I said, quite a few people. Y'all, if you have any questions or comments, definitely drop them into the chat, and interact with us, because that's part of what we're here for. But moving on a bit, away from music, Chris, what are some of your personal hobbies and interests?
I mean, love Netflix. Obviously, I love watching shows, and I'm a big fan of podcasts and listening to them, watching them. Um, Also, just love hanging out with friends. Like, we're the guys in the band. Like, we're in a band, but we're also genuine friends and love going and hanging out. Like, maybe grabbing a drink, grabbing some food, just that. And between all of that and work, that and practicing really just takes up all of my time.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, we're getting to the point of this where we're going to start actually talking about the band, and there are people on here who may not be that familiar with Scarlet View. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play. A week ago we had you guys on here, and we played The Chase. And what I'm going to do tonight is give them something a little bit different. And I'm going to play about the first minute of Never Coming Down,
Awesome.
just to give folks a taste of what y'all are all about. So I'm going to share my screen, and we will get this going here. So long, these vultures try to ground me. It's time to leave, it's getting ugly. Spinning in circles like a high-low. Separate the king, the peasants all sing. I'm coming for you! Come and try to break me. The day I said is the one I went crazy. I can fly higher than you ever tried. Come and try to break me. The day I said is the one I went crazy. I can fly. I'm never coming down. Here we go. Up top they try to force the protein. Come back when I am looking thirsty. Anyway, like I said, I just wanted to give folks a taste of what Scarlet View has going. I've noticed, between that and the video for The Chase, you guys really have very high production values in your videos. Can you tell me a little bit about the videos? What have you used to shoot those and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we both videos have been filmed and produced by Arc Media. She does a great job. Audrey Chapel. Um, You can find her on social media. It's ARC Media, and it is fantastic quality. Like, such a great time working with her. Like, she listens, she has great input. And each song, we have about 6 songs right now that we recorded, and The Chase was the second one that we've released so far. Each one kind of has their own theme and their own style, and we just kind of take that, and each video has like their own different style to it. And she understands the vision of it and makes it the best quality as possible.
Well, that's awesome. You guys really have a lot to be proud of with the videos. So
Thank you.
tell me a bit about Scarlet View. How long have you guys been together? How did the band form? Where did the name come from? Things like that.
Yeah, so I've been in the band about 5.5, between 5 and 6 years. Bryce started the band, probably 9, 10 years ago. And there's an album before the songs that have been out, and I joined. So I was in a band previously before Scarlet View, and we were on a tour, and we were looking for a second guitarist, and our guitarist at the time was like, "Hey, I know this guy named Bryce." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like, yeah, bring him on. And so we went on a tour, and it was 9 people in an 8-passenger van, and Bryce and I were stuck in the very back of the van on the same bunk. So we got to know each other real quick.
Yeah.
And so we got to know. It was a 3.5 week tour, a lot of fun. And at the end, he was like, "Hey, I need a bass player for my band." And I'm like, "Hey, well, I play bass." And then so we connected like a few weeks after, and that was about 5, 6 years ago, and then I've stuck with them ever since, and it's been a lot of fun. That was right before we recorded these songs with Richie Wykander. He was in Fire from the Gods, and yeah, I've just stuck with it ever since, and I've loved this band more than anything.
Awesome. Where did the name Scarlet View come from?
So Bryce, he kind of grew up in Parkville, Kansas, and he's told me this story multiple times that he was around a cove or a cave. He was walking around with some people, and they were sitting there watching the sunset, and he was like, "Man, that looks like a Scarlet View." And he was like, "Oh my God, that's like the perfect name for a band." And then ever since then, it's called Scarlet View.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So it's really just a sunset.
Yeah, it hit in the exact way that he needed it to, and it stuck with him. And he was like, That's the name."
So, do you play in any other bands or side projects, or are you pretty much just dedicated to Scarlet View?
No, I just play in Scarlet View. That takes up all my time, and just giving it every possible thing I have.
Gotcha. Well, like we've talked about a little bit, bass players are pretty much in a partnership of sorts with the drummer as the rhythm section for the band. Tell me about your relationship with the drummer and Scarlet View. How do you guys lock in with each other? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, our drummer, we call him Poji, because I'm Chris and his name is also Chris, so we call each other by our last names. But no, we're best friends. Like, you, as a bass player and a drummer, you guys have to be best friends and locked in together. And we like practice, make sure we're all hear each other, locked in. Like, being the bass player, you're kind of the bridge from guitar to drums. So you have to be like, we all lock in with the bass drum and the rhythm. And no, yeah, we have a great relationship.
Awesome. So tell me about the songwriting process within Scarlet View. Is there a primary writer in the band, or is it a collaborative process? How does the songwriting go?
It's definitely collaborative. We all like writing demos, and we all have like stuff going in our heads at all times. And so we sometimes someone will bring an idea that they recorded and we'll collaborate on it. And then sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, I know what I want to do with this demo." And then so they'll bring it and be like, I know exactly what I want to do. And then with the songs that have been recorded, that was kind of the main thing. And then we bring it to the producer Richie, and then that just like adds even more. He's like, "Hey, I think this would sound cool," and then it just like compounds on each other until it gets to the final product.
Hmm. Well, is Scarlet View anything approaching a full-time thing? And if it isn't, tell me about your day job.
Yeah, I am we're working towards it being a full-time job. We're going on tour with Il Nino, Flaw, and The Killer's Confession next month, and then hopefully that just kind of catapults things. But to make money to support the band and everything, I work as a delivery driver for Amazon just to
Oh,
make money
nice.
that to help fund everything. But
Right.
eventually, we want to tour full time.
Very cool. I'm going to flip over to the Amazon tab, not Amazon. What am I saying? Instagram, the Instagram tab, and see if anybody's saying anything. Nope. Again, we've got a lot of people, but I guess people are just listening. Um,
It happens.
yeah, it does. So uh, if you can narrow it down to one or two stories or anecdotes, what have been some of the most interesting experiences that you've had playing live?
Um, uh, See, the first one I can think of would definitely be, like I talked before, No Cover. Like recording that show was, and
Hmm.
like, we got to meet Alice Cooper and talk to him one on one, and talk to Kellen Quinn, and it was crazy being talking to people that I grew up listening to and have seen
Oh yeah,
live. So that
yeah.
was amazing. And then one of the first shows I ever played with Scarlet View was at the Sprint Center, which now at T-Mobile Center, but we played a kind of like a cover gig in a way. It was an event that was happening at the stadium, and one of the first shows I ever played with them, it was sold out. It was what, like 15,000 people there physically, and another 5,000 online. And
Hmm.
it was the most people I've ever played to in my life, and it was crazy. Like running, like I had the wireless, so I was like walking around the stadium talking to people, and it was one of the best experiences.
Very cool. Very cool. So what would you say is your favorite Scarlet View song to play live?
I definitely, I think it has to be "Never Coming Down," the one you played a little bit ago. It was one of the first ones that just really hit me, and I love the riff of it, and like it's one of the more heavier ones that we have,
Hmm.
and it just resonated with me a lot more, and I love the video for it.
Hmm. It sounds like it has a fun bass line.
Yeah, it's so much fun to play.
So, before you guys go on live, do you have any pre-show traditions, any things that you do consistently before you go on? And using the metaphor of athletics, some athletes will unlace and relace their shoes before going out and playing a game. Do you guys do anything consistently before you go on?
Um, we don't necessarily have a routine, but we definitely, we try to be as active as possible and then like and engaging. So we'll do different stretches together. Like we have almost like a routine of stretches, but we'll stretch beforehand, grab our instruments, make sure we're warmed up, maybe stretch again. Like put in we use in-ear systems. So like put in our in-ears, kind of like think about the songs, get ourselves in the mindset, and then just go for it.
Right, right. So I know you guys are from Kansas. Are you originally from Kansas, or are you from somewhere else originally?
Yeah, I'm originally from Kansas. Yeah, I grew up in and I still live in Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay. Um, what would you say is your favorite thing about Overland Park?
Um, I like that there's a lot of stuff around us. Like I've met a lot of great people around there. It's close to Kansas City, it's close to where all the bandmates live. It's a great spot. There's great food. It's just kind of in the center of a lot of things, and it's a nice town.
Hmm. Well, tell me about the local music scene where you're at.
Yeah, there's so many great bands. I mean, and there's so many great people that have supported us before and continue to do. Shout out to Corey O'Mara, Strat Gazer. He's helped us so much with booking and with radio, and Paul Chandler has helped us a lot with radio. And there's a lot of people. It's a very good scene that they all support each other and they all recognize what we want to do and what everyone wants to do. And it's a great community that everyone just wants the best for everyone.
That's really good, and I've found that to be the case in a lot of I would say really the majority of music scenes around the country. There's a lot of mutual support among the bands, and that's just refreshing because I mean to some extent you're competing for gigs and places to play and that kind of thing, but ultimately, it's all about the art and really just trying to get everybody heard. And
Everyone just wants everyone to succeed. And so it's a great community. Like there's so many great shows every weekend, and so many friends come out and support and buy merch and everything. It's a great time.
very cool. So we're getting to a portion of this that I always really enjoy because this particular question I always get the most interesting answers, and that is knowing what you know now, Chris. If you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh man. I would say just don't doubt yourself in a way. Like being in a band and trying to do as much as you can. Like there's obviously periods of time where you're like, it costs money, it costs a lot of time, it's just so much effort, like, and you can get down on yourself sometimes. And
Hmm.
like things can look bleak here and there, but at the end of the day, if you just put in the time and effort, like things will work out. And just never, the main thing is just don't ever give up, because if you put in the time and effort and things are going to work out, then it definitely will.
Absolutely. There's a lot of times in life where you've got to sit back and bet on yourself. And so
Hmm.
um so do you have any suggestions for any other I guess up and coming bands to check out or potentially reach out to do one of these live stream chats?
Oh man, there's a good handful. of artists and bands in Kansas City. See, one of our friends is in a band called Chaos Theory from Kansas City. They're great
Okay.
people. You know, they always support us. We support them. And there's an artist called Blacklight. It's like BLV instead of the A. And, you know, great person, great band. And Primer is also a great Kansas City band. There's so many. And Kansas City is a great place for music. But those are the ones that obviously like come to mind first.
Well, very cool. Yeah, I'll reach out to you on DM for further details. You know, about getting in touch with some of those folks.
Awesome.
But you know, one of the other things that we've done with every one of these, and it's just been kind of fun, is we let the person being interviewed pose a question for the next person in the hot seat. So my previous guest from a couple of nights ago was a guy named Wyatt Dempster, who he's the bassist for a metal band up in Boone, North Carolina called Quadrant. And really had a great conversation with him. And the question that he posed for you is, what role has actual music theory played in your growth and journey as a musician?
That I definitely I when I started playing bass, I was definitely more heavily into music theory, and that's kind of like it definitely accentuated my growth with playing bass. It really like solidified the building blocks and everything. So it was very good for songwriting in the beginning, like recognizing because music theory is a lot of shapes, obviously on the fretboard, and so that definitely jump started that, and it helped me recognize the shapes and what sounds good, what doesn't sound good. So music
Right.
theory definitely helped a lot in the beginning, and then after a certain point, you get to recognize that, and it becomes second nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, so, you know, since this is a series, is there a question that you would like to pose to the next person in the hot seat?
Let me think. Let me see. If you could own one bass for the rest of your life, what bass would that be?
Oh, good question.
If you could only pick one, what would it be?
Wow. That's uh,
It's a tough question.
okay. Well, what would your answer be?
My answer, I mean, I absolutely love the Legator I have, but
Mm-hmm.
one of my absolute dream bases is a Dingwall. I think it's like a D bird. It's kind of like a Thunderbird type bass, but a
Mm-hmm.
Dingwall. And I've always wanted to play one of the like a 5 string. I if I had the money, I would totally buy one, but way out of my price range.
Right.
But I if I could own one bass, that would probably be the one I would want.
Right. Well, speaking of price range, a question that I'd neglected to bring up earlier is, how often do you change strings?
It kind of depends. Bass strings are, you know, kind of expensive compared to
Yeah.
guitar strings. But
Hmm.
if I'm playing like on a tour or something, probably once a week. You know, if we have time off from a tour once every 2 or 3 months, like, but definitely if we have some time off between a show, I'll probably hold off as long as like the tuning stays well and it sounds good. I'll keep the strings, but definitely if we haven't played for a bit, obviously I'll change the string. As long as the strings sound fresh and everything, the tone sounds good, that works for me.
Right. Right. Yeah. I always try to ask that because it's just funny, you know, with bass strings being as expensive as they are, you practically have to take out a second mortgage to restring your bass.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and the good thing is, for the most part, bass strings seem to hold up a little better than standard guitar strings. So at least, you know, you don't have to change them quite as often.
Oh yeah. Especially sometimes I've used Stringjoy, and then sometimes I use Ernie Ball, like power slinkies, and those
Mhm.
definitely held up a lot better than other brands I've used.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ernie Ball strings. Actually, just in general, they really produce a nice tone, and they tend to hold up fairly well. So
They hold in tune really well.
yeah, yeah. So do you guys have? But yeah, I know you guys just dropped the Chase, but do you have any other new stuff coming down the pipeline? And or do you have any upcoming shows you'd like to hype?
We have one video that is already done. Not sure yet when that's gonna be released. We have, I think, 4 songs recorded right now that we're, taking it one step at a time, releasing them as singles, and then kind of going from there. And then, as far as shows, we're playing June 1st at Tulsa, with one of our great friends in Off Division. It's going to be a great show. We're playing June 7th at the Voodoo Lounge with Young Medicine and Danny Blue and a bunch of Kansas City bands that we love. And then after that is the El Nino tour at the end of June that we're so pumped for. All these shows are going to be great.
Well, it sounds like big things are coming. So that's definitely exciting. And you know, it sounds like you guys are really on the verge of hopefully some really big stuff happening. So
Thanks.
and
We're working as hard as we can.
well, you know, hard work has a tendency to pay off.
Hmm.
Um, And, you know, as you guys continue to put out new material, know that you've got a standing invitation to come back on our new music shows that we do once a month. So, you know, just consider yourself invited.
Awesome. No, it's been a great time talking to you. Like this week and last week was a great time. No, this show is really fun.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I'm going to take one more quick look over at Instagram just to see if anybody's saying anything. No, no, like I said, we've got a lot of people, but they're just kind of being silent. But anyway, for everybody that's been watching this, thank you. For everybody that'll see this later on replay, thank you for that. Uh, like I said at the beginning, I can't believe we've gotten to 20 episodes with this. And
Awesome.
Next Tuesday, we've got some members from a band here in Atlanta called the Novanauts that are going to be on live with me, and then the following Friday, the 31st. I've got Alec, who is the bass player for a band called the Lazy Ghouls. And so
That's a
I'm
cool name.
definitely, yeah, it is. It is. I'm interested to talk to him and find out where that came from.
Yeah.
But but anyway, so we've got those two before the end of May, and then we've got several things coming up in June that I'll be announcing shortly. And you know, I'm working on merch right now. We've got coffee cups available with the LowDown logo, and I've got some shirts and other stuff in the works, so there'll be announcements about that coming up. And like I said, just thank everybody for going on this journey with us. And if you like what we've got going here, continue to spread the word, and drop us a follow, comment, share, all that good stuff. And everybody have a wonderful night and a safe and healthy Memorial Day weekend coming up. And just thank you, and thank you, Chris, for taking the time to be on here. And this has been a blast.
Oh no, thank you. So this has been a great conversation and a great time. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And well, I guess we'll call it an evening, and everybody have a great night.